And we are live. It's me and Baron Yam here, chilling.
Yep. Welcome everyone. This is Baron
Tico Tren,
Yam, aka the Red Pill Peddler.
Tico Tren, aka Internal Sadist here. We're going to talk about current events apparently, and that's going to
Yep.
be fun.
Yep.
And Double I
Um,
apparently is in the comment section. Was in the comment
what's up?
section.
What's up? Tico, your videos have about the Facebook videos lately have been really funny,
Mhm.
and it's kind of like showing like the theme is desperation this week. It seems like to me with your Facebook posts. And not just desperate attempts from women, but desperate attempts for dogs to breathe, I guess, because
Oh
I guess
yeah,
some
yeah,
women don't
definitely.
know that they're just choking their dogs out when they're
You
petting them,
know, trying to call the
when
cops on a black man while choking your dog out and shit.
yeah, that's ridiculous right there. And like the desperation is really deep, and I think women are like more because of all like the I want to say greedy decisions that they try to do to make get a man sometimes. Uh, they've so exhausted. It just causes so much mental exhaustion that a lot of them are like strung out.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Oh,
Yeah,
definitely. I
it's
would
like
definitely agree on that one.
psychologically strung out, and to the point where they're even like looking into their male friends as emotional tampons, because they're doing so much fuck shit. They got to tell somebody about it.
Yeah, definitely. And the
Yeah.
sad part about that is when you get a group of women like that, or when you get women like that in general,
Mhm.
it's always crazy how they're able to justify the shit that they do, but they want to condemn men for doing not even a tenth of what they do for the most part.
Right. Have you heard of the term alpha widow? Because I just learned about that today.
Vaguely, vaguely.
It's it's funny that you mentioned it like too because the Austria Dick actually published a video about it, specifically titled like what does it mean to be alpha widowed? So look that video up if you get the chance. And I just watched that today, and to me, in my own words, alpha widow is when a woman has a partner or a person that she just is friends with or has a relationship with
Hmm.
that displays that alpha quality that attracts her. They don't even really have to have sex, but it's
Hmm.
just what happens is they like kind of imprint on that man, and then for the rest of their if so that so widowed meaning like that man obviously goes away somehow. So it could
Hmm.
I think you could even be like a woman in a marriage too, like that or that far down the line, but the woman basically projects that alpha onto every single man that she encounters afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
like an
my
imprinting.
thoughts on that, and like what I've been told what that was is basically a woman who has lost her husband and has regained the strength to
Yes.
go back out there emotionally, mentally, and basically, just have sex with random people, despite the fact that she was just married and was in a relationship, and
Yes.
she's just banging different people every night of the week for the most part.
Yes.
Different men,
And
I should say.
they all sort of exhibit qualities of that former
Well, no,
like
she's an
alpha
alpha.
widow.
I mean, she went through her whole entire thing where her husband left, died basically, and
Yeah.
somehow, some way, she got some newfound like qualities or newfound
Energy.
alpha in her
She got
for her to
a new
run out and
energy.
just go and have fun, basically.
Yeah, yeah. Then this happens to some women because they have essentially like gathered the energy from this alpha and like have used it and it's like sometimes it's through like social drama and like all the stuff that they can say about having experienced something from that man, like kind of like how they use their boyfriends to like say that they want to be dominated
Hmm.
physically like
Yeah.
by another man. They like talk about their boyfriend in a way that makes it seem like they just want to be submissive, and there's he's not letting her be submissive, and it's like wow, it's kind of like it's it's very good marketing.
Yeah, it definitely is.
But yeah, the truth that like a lot of guys like me don't really understand is that we're basically just invisible to women based on what our age group, like, because we just can't, like, a person who's your age, and granted there are various exceptions to the rule, but girls who are my age just aren't interested in dating guys who are my age. They want guys because I have nothing to give them. You see, there's
Yeah,
nothing to give
yeah,
them.
and you also got to take consideration that actually plays into the whole entire polygamy thing. And this is
Yeah.
where like a lot of women that are like in my age bracket get upset with men my age, or they're a little bit older that get upset with men my age because
Mm-hmm.
we have more options. We could date down, basically. We could date down in age wise. I
Deep
mean, date down
down,
age
yeah,
wise. Not really. I
yeah.
mean, date down, but we could date down age wise and basically trade in
Uh-huh.
like or we could trade in what we have for a person that's can actually have children successfully
Well,
without
yeah,
having to
and
worry
it's
about
like
that.
what's rare in this case is that women have much more options in order, like us, like so many more options to choose from now that they have control over the male to female dating market. Like they are even in control of who's allowed to participate in this weird, like, being in like a circle of gossip. Everybody like knows who is who. They just get to and they can control that whole dynamic because men just don't care, simply don't care.
Yeah.
Like our guys got young guys or guys who like are not trying to give them any sort of special attention or special needs or anything like that.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And the
Yeah,
sad
just
part
normal
about that,
guys.
yeah, and the sad part about that is like they don't really control what's what and what's who as much as
No,
because
no.
if they did, they wouldn't be writing op-eds about where have all
Right,
the good
how
men
where all the
gone,
good
or
men going. Right, right.
where are all the
Mhm.
financially economically attractive men and shit like that. So they technically don't really control the market. They've lost control of the market their damn selves because they flooded
Pretty
it with
much.
pussy, and
And
it's
there's no
pretty much
success.
worth.
There's
It's pretty
hardly
much
any
penny stock
successful
now for the
cases.
most part,
Yeah.
or I should say half a cent stock now.
Hmm.
That's pretty much what it's worth anymore. And the sad part about that is when women did that, they fucked themselves over and they lost more options. Because the sad part about that is, like I
Yeah, they
say,
lost the ones that actually are
men
good
can
to
get
them.
sex anywhere. And the sad part about that is
Mhm.
there's more women than men in this world. And like the best way I could actually describe it to you and say how women lost power is
Mhm.
if you actually go to China, there's a group of women called leftover women in China. Now, mind you, there's a shit ton more men than women in China, but there's leftover women in China. These are
Uh-huh.
women that happen to be in their
Yeah.
30s and 40s, or have been married before and got a divorce, and so they're literally like untouchable. And nobody really wants to date them.
Alpha widowed.
And the sad part about that, no, they're not even alpha widow. They basically go around like you know hoping that they can get into another relationship or hoping somebody would pick them. And the sad part about it is nobody wants them. But you know who do want them? Those leftover females, or those unwanted women, basically. White men from first world countries want them.
Yes. Yes. That's true.
And the sad
And they
part
get a
about
lot of
that,
success with
for you
it.
to come from a country with a shit ton of men and don't none of them want you, sets a precedence.
Huge red flag.
Yeah, sets a precedence for
Huge red
how much
flag.
value women actually really hold. Especially when the government before that was killing women and letting boys be raised. You see what I'm saying? So
Uh-huh.
killing baby girls and letting the men babies be born. And the sad part about that is like these men these men in China end up being married off to women in Russia, or women in like Ukraine, or women in Eastern Europe for the most part, which is actually pretty funny. So a lot of these
Mm.
Chinese men end up being married off to like a lot of the women from the Eastern Europe, where there's like more women
Eastern
than
Bloc.
men in there.
Yeah. Well, that's just a trend that happens when you have hypergamy. Is you just have a lot of leftover bodies because that's they're like, in order for natural selection to take place, it's they got to go through a lot of different Chads and a lot of different Tyrones, and you have the fallout of basically all that happening. That's the world that we live in right now, like
Very true.
the
Very true.
aftermath. Yeah, and that's why I think SYSBM or SYS Yam or SYSY or whatever you want to call it is actually good for people because it gives them a chance to go out and see what other options they have, as opposed to just trying to bash their head against the same problem.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's never going to actually help you. And I don't know if YouTube's not doing a good job of promoting the right videos, because we get a lot of drama content now. And
Hmm.
so the reason why I would plug something is not because I'm trying to, start any drama. It's because I just think that it would be good. It's good content, and it doesn't really involve any drama or any stuff that would be not helpful to the discussion. And um, the thing that I just realized, I just had a lot of things click for me today, where I was thinking, and I was like, wait, let me think about this, because this would be good material for the show. And yeah, like once once this made sense to me, I stopped really feeling nihilistic and depressed about the whole situation, because the thing that really used to drag motivation out of me was getting gaslit and not knowing how to react appropriately.
Oh yeah,
Or
definitely.
no,
That's
no, no,
that's
no, not
annoying as
even
hell.
getting gaslight. Gaslighting is different, because with knowledge comes with wisdom and experience. So you can know that you're right and know when to walk away sooner than if you were shit tested. Because shit testing is I think shit testing is a harder philosophical thing for people to acknowledge, because they often want to project sort of their loyalty onto a woman and expect recognition, and expect to be accepted. Whereas a man's not going to get that same level of respect that he unless he has a really deep understanding with that woman, where she can actually give him the respect that she wants, or that he needs from her, because most women aren't really capable of that. Really, or the most women just out there are not going to just respect you.
Oh no, they're
um
definitely not. And the sad part about
yeah,
that
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah, and
there's a way around stuff like that if you
mhm,
actually do it properly. Like
yeah,
they're not if they're not going to respect you, you just basically got to force them to respect you. If they're not going to do it, you basically got to pretty much make them suffer for the most part. I mean, not make them
oh yeah,
suffer. I mean, being well, if you got no respect for me, then don't expect me to help you ever. Basically, now if it's in a
hmm
workspace, basically just ignore them. You got no respect for me, then I ain't got no respect for you, and I'm not gonna help your ass. It's that simple.
hmm
So I look at it like this: if you have very little respect for
yeah.
me, then I really don't care what you got going on, and I really don't care what help you need. It's that simple.
True, true. And
That
it
goes for
doesn't say
workspace. That goes
make,
for family. That
yeah,
goes for anybody. If you got very little respect for me, then your ass got to suffer by yourself. Don't ask me for shit.
true, true, yeah, true. And then that's just the thing, because men kind of think about listening as a secondary trait to what our primary trait is, which is usually our vision. So all we see is what we gravitate towards, and we don't really listen to what's being said, the conversations that women have for the most part.
Well,
And
no,
it does,
we do listen to what's said. The sad
yeah,
part about that is the opposite sex usually tries to say it in a way
code
that's
code
say
their
it in a
language.
convoluted way where they want you
Yes.
to read their fucking mind and shit like that, which is the
Yeah, yeah,
problem.
yeah, yeah. It's terrible. It's terrible.
It's
And
one thing if
the
it was
women in my
esoteric, it'd be
bracket are,
understandable, but
yeah,
it's another thing if it's convoluted.
yeah, the women in my bracket are very much like that. Always speaking on some 8D emotional chess, and it's kind of strange being in the presence of a woman who's talking like that, and then knowing what she actually means without saying it, and just not actually expressing it, not actually expressing that, and just sitting back, chilling, and listening to the conversation. It's just eye opening. It's eye opening, especially if you're in a room full of women. It's eye opening. It'll give you a red pill or two.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm sure people. It happens around people all the time, But if they haven't taken the red pill, they wouldn't like actually be able to decipher what the hell's going on. Maybe that's just me over analyzing it, but I think
Yeah.
that's definitely something I think about. Yeah. But what else? Oh, what else is new with the with current events? Because this probably bleeds right into the what's happening right now with the coronavirus and
Um.
like like the whole desperation movement.
Desperate. The funny thing about like coronavirus and desperation is women are out here actually acting a fool trying to get more attention and shit like that. And the sad part about that is I was watching somebody was showing me a video of you ever heard of something called the dancing bears?
That I've never no I've never heard of the dancing bear.
It's almost like Chip and Dale, but you're like strippers, but they dress
Oh
up in a bear
yeah, okay,
costume
dancing bears. Yeah,
originally.
yeah.
Then they eventually strip down to like nothing, and they basically most times they get their dick sucked or they get like a female ends up having sex with one of them basically in that party. It's
Mhm.
always a female always having sex with them. But what I notice about that is right now during the lockdown, that shit is still going on.
No way. Do
Hmm.
they have to wear masks? Is it social
No, they're
distance?
not even wearing masks in these videos. They're not wearing masks at all.
Wow, because I would imagine it
So
would be so
this is how much
annoying.
women throw caution to the wind. They
Uh-huh.
want to act like they're
Yeah.
high and mighty and act like they want to virtue signal like they're like we're trying to save the world and we're trying to save everybody.
Yeah, they think they're
Trying to save
immune to it. I
everybody,
can
and
tell.
then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they're doing this stupid shit. And the sad part about that is, I was
Mhm.
laughing about that because I said to the person, I kid you not, well, it's not really bear porn. It's actually an actual group of men that dress up like bears and they go around. It's almost like a furry type thing,
Or
basically.
no,
But
it's
like
not bear
they dress up
porn.
as bears, but they're basically like Chippendale slash furries, all in one for the most part. But they actually have sex with women. And the sad part about that, I was laughing at somebody and I said, and I quote,
Yeah.
this is why women believe that they can have any type of man they want because of the dancing bears. The dancing bears are the strippers that they get to come to their thing and they end up having sex with them. Lady with double chin thinks she's the shit now because she got a guy. Because basically, the sad part about that is like the lady with the double chin thinks she can get any guy now because she had sex with one of the dancing bears. Meanwhile,
Yeah,
it's his
but
job.
like you say, like it doesn't matter. Like that's just how women are going to
Oh
act
yeah,
in a society where we have the dancing bears. Like they're gonna
and,
latch
and the
right
sad
onto
part.
that.
And the sad part about
It's
that is what I
perfect
was trying to
marketing.
where I was trying
Mhm.
to where I was trying to get at basically was there's a fundamental difference between how men view that same thing and how women view that same thing. Women
Yeah.
view it, well, I can have sex with any guy because this hot guy has sex with me, even though he wouldn't touch me with a 10-foot pole any other day of the week for real if you actually think about it. And when men actually have sex with a woman, usually it's like something along the lines of that. He realizes it's her job, so she doesn't love him like that. Basically, it's basically a transaction. Whereas for a woman,
Mhm.
somebody paid for that, and 9 times out of 10, and she probably paid for that for emissions for the most part, for emissions for that shit. So she literally paid for the act. So therefore, she thinks that she can pretty much get any man she wants to because she just paid for a man to actually have sex with her.
Which is yeah, I get what
Like
you're
think about
saying.
that. You just
We think
literally
about
paid.
prostitution in two
You,
different
you just
ways.
literally paid for a man to have sex with you, but you believe that you can get sex anytime, anywhere from any man because
Yeah.
you just had sex with this guy for the most part. And that's typically the difference between men and women. Men realize that there's a transaction made and
Logical. They think logically
there's not going
about
to
it.
be any relationship after this. Women think, you know, I got this guy, I can get any guy because he's a 10
Yeah.
basically. Even if you got a
And
double
like yeah,
chin,
dude.
even if you got a fat, even if you're fat, even if you're wrinkly, even if it don't matter what it is, even if you got like, pancake boobs, it's like
Oh, it doesn't
they
matter.
believe that they can get guys like that when in fact you just literally paid for that man's services.
Yep. Yeah, that's messed up. And then now everyone thinks they deserve the best, the best,
Yeah.
the
And that's
most
typically
like
the
good looking
delusion
men.
of women for the most part. That plays into the delusion of women, because it
Yeah.
was basically like what I was telling you about it was basically what I was telling you about the strip clubs. There was like a male strip club and a female strip club. What's up, Psyche Soap? And
It's like so.
and the sad part about it was I worked at both clubs. The sad part about it is on the male side, the men weren't allowed to touch the strippers at all. Like it was like 6 inches maximum, 6 inches minimum. That you know 6 inch distance from like him and her basically if they were getting lap dances and stuff like that. But basically they weren't allowed to touch the the female the strippers on the male side, the men's side, where like they seen female strippers on the female side where they see the male strippers. They were allowed to touch the men. They were grabbing, they were groping, they were sucking, they were you
Yeah,
know titty fucking. They were doing all the shit and all the shit,
yeah.
all the above for the most. Oh yeah, they did every damn thing on the female side. Oh, they did every fucking thing on the female side. And the sad part about that is, I remember I got a savage idea when I was working the door to one time, and I go to the one woman. She done now. I done seen her go. I done seen her suck the dick of the one stripper and get come and get get what they call it a money shot basically. And I seen her coming outside. She's trying to clear off her face and make sure her makeup is still right and fix her bra and shit
Mm-hmm.
like that. And she comes outside, and I go, "Did you have fun?" She goes, "Yeah, I had a lot of fun." Right. So she's smoking her cigarette. I go, do you know your husband's over here in a strip club, basically having fun?" She dropped her cigarette. She flew in the side where the men were, and she went to go find her husband. And the funny thing about it, she searched for her husband. She came back out. She goes, "I didn't see him." I go, "That was the point. I was being a dick." He's like, and I go to her, and I go to her,
Yeah,
and I go to her.
yeah. Because that man's got a problem. If he's paying for sex on the other side of the strip club, yeah, he's
The
got
sad part
something.
about that, oh, he fell out again. Wait for him to come back, basically. Yeah, but the sad part about that, when it comes down to it, when it comes down to it, the sad part about it is when it comes down to it, the sad part about it is on a men's side, there's no touching. And everybody knows there's no touching on the
Right,
men's side.
right.
But men don't know that there's allowed to be touching on a female side. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
their wife could be touching, grabbing, groping, sucking, everything on the on that side, on the female side, and on the men's side, it's 6 inches minimum basically. If you go lower than 6 inches, we got to start tossing motherfuckers out basically. And the sad part about that is she got mad because her husband might have been over there, getting a lap dance. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, she's getting fucked and sucked.
and
She's
she's
literally
sucking.
sucking dick
Yeah,
and got a money shot in her fucking face and shit like that. And it's like the hypocrisy is ridiculous. Like, and I go
yeah,
to her,
yeah.
what,
That's a
what, what
crimson
what's
pill
the
right
problem?
there.
Why are you upset that your husband might be over there? Well, I don't want him over there. They can't touch anybody over. That's besides the point. But you were sucking somebody's dick and you got cum all over your hair. That's different. No, it's not. You're married. It's not different. Only thing
Yeah,
different is the fact that they can't touch anybody over here and they get lap dances and they barely touch their laps, and you can actually touch men over here and jerk and everything.
I
It's
was
just fact.
explaining that to somebody. I was explaining that to somebody, and they just looked at me and they're like, you think like an old man. Like you think like an old man. Like you're yeah. I don't get." I was to a woman, and
Hmm.
it's basically you can't explain it to them, like because shout out like Austria Dick again. Uh, you can't explain it to them because they don't understand how wrong it is. They because it's
Yeah,
pushed in
morality.
the
They don't have
morality.
morality. Basically,
No, they have zero
their
morality.
morality is tied to what they've been. Their morality is basically tied to what benefits them for the most part. And the sad part
Well,
about that,
it's what they think the men's morality is.
no, it's
And
no, because women would never have a good woman would have a her husband's morality. However, women in this day and age
mhm.
don't have morality. Their morality is tied to what can I get or what does this benefit me for the most part? How does this benefit
Yeah.
me? And does this benefit me greatly? Does this benefit
That's true
me
because
greatly?
then
Basically,
you wouldn't have a space for like leftover women and the alpha widows and like the women who are older uh to like basically dominate. so weird, so like social hierarchies in HR and everything, like how they just like they manipulate everything in the female element, but they don't really. It doesn't really have to do with like what they can, what a man thinks. It's all about like what can I gain from this? Like
Yeah,
how can I become God with Tinder and
yeah.
predict all all that stuff. The
And
the stupid TV shows that are out right now.
and the sad part about that is what a lot of people don't realize when it comes down to it. Like at the end of the day, hashtag
Hmm.
tear it down, Mr. Forma, Psyche Soap, America's, what's up? All y'all in the
Oh,
double
what
live,
up,
what's up? All
gents?
y'all in the chat, basically. But but the sad part about the whole entire thing is women women are more likely than men online to bully men and women for the most part. It's just a fact. Women are more likely to bully somebody online, whereas in school, women are more likely to bully somebody in school and online for the most part, which is actually very very funny because like most times when you hear about a man killing himself,
Women
9 times
are
out of 10.
the biggest bullies.
Oh yeah, they are. And the sad part about it, hear about somebody killing themselves, or when you hear about somebody shooting up a school, 9 times out of 10 it was attached to a woman.
Yeah, they wreak havoc when they're put into like these situations where like you got the kids that are they claim if they knew about it online, like they would be like incel or the lonely person. And they find this they like manipulate that person. They have because that person's like weak, and then all of a sudden that person's coming to school with a gun, and they're like going to his texts, and he's talking about this, he's stalking this girl, or going to his notebook and he's like writing about this girl constantly.
And the sad part about that is what people don't realize is the reason why there's all this shit is because 9 times out of 10 a woman actually helped initiate this shit for there to actually be a mass shooting. No matter how you cut it. And the sad part about
Yeah,
that is like they'll say,
whether
well,
it be
well,
the teacher
no,
that was yelling at
he's and
him,
like
the
even the
girl
ones
that
where
was
you were even no, actually I could say
protecting
no.
him.
Let me rephrase that. Yeah, 10 out of
Mhm.
10 times a woman's at fault for the whole entire school shooting, and this is what I mean by that. 9 out of 10 times, 9 out of 10 times, if it was a mass shooter, he was raised by a single mother.
And the other 1%,
And the other 1% basically is women just bullying people and making fun of people, and now we got a school shooting. Because the sad part about that, the chances of a man bullying a man. I mean, it's one thing if a man bullies a kid, he just basically
I
physically
won't
beats him
bring a
up.
gun to school. I wouldn't bring a gun to school if a guy was bullying me on like the playground. I would not do that.
The sad part about the male bullies is when you get bullied by a male, you basically learn from it. You basically grow from it. You might be scared, but you learn from it. You grow from it, and you become a better person. When you get bullied by a woman, for some odd reason, you want to shoot up the place. Like it is what it is. Like think
uh,
about that shit. All the times you've seen somebody get bullied at school by a man. I've seen men get like shoved in boys get shoved in lockers. I've seen people get
get their head
swirlies and
kicked in
shit
the
like that.
locker. Yeah.
People's underwears get wedgied all the way up off them and ripped off their back
Mhm.
and shit like
People
that.
get stabbed, but then, like double I, what happened to him? He got some girl stabbed him with a pencil or some shit.
Yeah. And the sad part about
No,
that
no
is,
one cares, right? It's like no one
yeah, nobody
cares.
cares, but nobody cares until there's a school shooting, and then all of a sudden, what the heck
Yeah.
made him do that? You know what the hell made him do that? You
He got
know
stabbed with
exactly
a
what the hell
fucking
made him do that
pencil.
shit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, that's sad, man.
Yeah, and it's
And like,
ridiculous.
yeah, and then Twitter is the worst social media for kids to be exposed to because it's just nonstop back and forth. Like, oh, no, no, man, well, I disagree. I'm just gonna not agree, and then it's just like creates this like drama tornado. And one time, a kid got arrested because he tweeted that he was gonna bring some like a knife or gun, and then a bunch of people found it and reported it. And like the fact that that's able to happen now, it was probably due to a woman facilitating the whole thing
Oh,
in
definitely,
general.
definitely.
Yeah,
Because like the sad part about that, a lot of the shootings has something to do with a woman. All the shootings, most of the shootings in this world. Like I remember when I was
right.
way back when I was in high school in Mount Lebanon High School, there was a shooting where a guy basically shot up at LA Fitness in a curves, all because he got turned down by a woman. Matter of fact,
Wait,
there
he
was a
shot up
bunch
the
of
LA
there was a bunch
Fitness
of
and the
shootings at LA
Curves?
Fitness and curves basically because
Oh,
women were either picking on him, calling them names, or turning them down basically, and he shot up the place. And then there was another one where
shit.
like there was another shooting in Mount Lebanon where like a guy was going around just shooting non-white people. He shot an Arab, he shot a Jewish person, he shot a black person basically. But it's just shit like this that just blows my mind because when you get people and Yam fell out again, when you get people, it just like it just makes it so like ridiculously ridiculous when shit actually
Sorry.
happens like that. You're fine. It just makes it so ridiculous. But like shit like this happens so often, we sweep it under the rug and we make it a normal thing. When in fact, 9 times out of 10, or 10 out of 10 times, a woman's at the root of a school shooter or a mass shooter for the most part.
Oh yeah. No, I said
Let it
like
be,
not yeah.
let it be
Nine
him
times out
being
of
raised by a single mother, or let him be picked on by women. And because the sad part about that, like I said, men will beat you up. Men will bully you physically. Women will bully you emotionally and mentally. It's just
well
facts.
yeah.
And the sad part
Mhm.
about that is being bullied physically, you can get over that. Being bullied emotionally, you're probably going to kill everybody. It's just facts. It's like
I was just like the moment
everybody.
you
It's
said
like
that,
literally that's literally the
that
mentality.
makes
Like
it
everybody's got to die.
absolutely
Basically,
known.
if you're bullied by a woman, everybody's got to die. You get bullied by one guy, you might have him on a wall for paybacks later down the line, but you only have him on the wall for paybacks down the line. Oh, you get bullied by a woman, you got to take out everybody. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. You got to pick up and move if you get bullied by a woman. You can't stay there
Well, yeah,
because
no, because
everybody.
if you stay there, the whole entire town's in danger.
Yeah,
Shit.
you got to go somewhere
Like
else. Yeah,
the whole
and
entire town's in
that's like
danger.
if I wasn't more like well adapted to women's tactics and stuff and given like my history, um I probably would or every time I picture that happening, I just think there's like a parallel universe where I just went absolutely ape shit. Like every time a woman bullies you, it's like
Oh yeah,
that's a
definitely.
chance that you could cause some serious damage. Because
Hmm.
the thing is, like, if a woman's pissed off, she just has to like cry, and sometimes she'll get her way. But if a guy's pissed off, like stuff is gonna actually break, and it's like not gonna
Yeah,
like shit's not really gonna go off the way that you thought it was. And then
and, and that's the thing I
and
noticed.
they kind of teach sorry, but I was just gonna all I was gonna add to it was about like the gamma male topic earlier. Like they teach men to just like hold their anger in this way, and it
Hmm.
sort of creates like the same monster, but like doubly powerful and
Yeah,
like deadly. You know?
it's one of those things where I've always laughed about that shit. Where like we live in a society where we claim men can't hit women, but the funny thing about that is there's about like 10% of the population that don't care about rules. So they'll basically splow the fuck out of a woman like they're a man, basically, because they don't give a damn about rules, and some they actually believe in equality. Oh, we're equal, whop, and that's the sad part about that. Like they literally believe that shit, and
Yeah.
this is what women fail to realize. Now, like I've always said, 10% of the population would do some sick, vile
Yeah.
things to any living thing, let it be animal or woman
Yeah.
or person.
Over the most petty shit too. Like
And over
not
the most petty
everybody has
shit.
to
Oh yeah,
think.
you
Everybody has
step
to
on
think
somebody's
like
shoes in the
mastermind,
hood. It don't matter if you're a
premeditated.
male or a female, you can get it.
No, over the most
Anybody can
petty
get it. And the
shit.
sad part about that, and the sad part about that, that number's only grown over the last few years with this feminism and all this shit. Is up to like 15% of the population would do some sick, vile shit to anybody and everything living. Let it be women, men, dogs, cats, lions, tigers, bears, oh my, whatever the fuck, basically. They literally would do some sick, vile shit to any living thing for the most part. And it's like literally we live in a society where like there's a 15% of men and well, I won't say 15% of men. There's like what 15% of the population, I should say, because there's some women in that shit too. 15% of the population literally has this mentality that anybody can get it. It don't matter who
Hmm.
you is, anybody can get it. And the sad part about this subsection of the society will literally punch out a kid. if they put their hands on them. They would like literally punch out a dog for attacking them. They would punch out a dog for barking at them. They would punch out a woman for swinging on them, and they would punch out her friend for trying to come to her rescue. It's like literally equal opportunity hit busters right here. Like we literally got in a society. And the sad part about that is when I say women fail to realize that you're dealing with 15% of the population that would literally kill you, rape you, beat you down, and beat you to an end of your life, but you want to have like free love and you want to be able to dress the way you want to. How is that even remotely productive? And the sad part about that, women will sit here and talk about I should be able to dress the way I want. Yeah, but that'd be great in a Walgreens world, but we don't live in a Walgreens world, and we got men out here and women out here that would literally do some sick Val shit to your ass.
Mm-hmm.
So how is that even an argument?
Yeah. And it's like, like I've even been like it doesn't make sense to me because it never gets better, and like even with people who are growing into
it's getting worse. It's getting worse with this shit. With these women doing the shit and the slut walks too, and all this shit that they're doing is getting way worse. I wouldn't be shocked by like, in 5 years it's up to like 35% of people do some sick Val shit to anybody living, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it is what it is.
People's palates have already been wetted for ideological pandemonium and like just widespread hysteria. So they excuse the unknown, like the unknown knowns of what human beings are capable of when there's no rule of law. And what's going to happen is if enough of this stuff in Minnesota basically busts out into the rest of the United States, we're going to have a huge problem on our hands because like the wide majority of that 15% don't have an avenue for expressing aggression.
Definitely. Well, the sad part about that, the wide majority of that 15% would actually express their aggression by burning shit down to the ground. Zero part of the 15%. Like, and the sad part about that, and the thing that agitates me about that.
One thing I never really understood is like, if you wanted justice to actually be solved, why would you burn down like the police station where the FBI would need to investigate or the CIA would need to investigate to make sure that people are brought to justice? It's like it just doesn't.
Well, the sad part about that shit started. That shit already started because they already got news that there's a high chance that those cops won't go to trial. So like shit just went downhill from there. And my thoughts on this whole entire thing with this guy is, when it comes down to it, Black lives really don't matter. Black lives don't matter. It don't matter how much you march it. It don't matter how much you want to say. No matter how much you want to say, it don't matter how many shirts you sell. It don't matter how many shirts you wear. It don't matter how many shirts white people sell or wear. Black lives really don't matter. Because the sad part about that, if they really mattered, that white lady in Central Park wouldn't be trying to call the cops on the person because she's actually breaking the law by not having her dog on a leash. And another good example of that is, if Black lives really matter, the white lady who was getting arrested by the police wouldn't say no. The white women, there was a couple of them, wouldn't say shit like, well, you can't treat me like that. I'm not a black person. I'm a white woman. You can't treat me like a black person. Literally, while she's getting arrested by the police and shit like that. Like, think about that shit. So obviously Black lives don't matter if a white woman can say that shit to the police officers while she's being arrested and taken down to the ground for the most part. Like, Black lives really don't matter. And that's why there's SYSBM.
Yeah.
Because they know, no matter how much you sit here, no matter how much you try to fight it, at the end of the day, your life don't really matter in the United States. You're basically a big ass pawn that can be sacrificed at any given fucking time in the United States, and it's just facts.
Yeah. And they think that they can play an emotional game towards somebody who's just like outthought them, basically.
Yeah,
like
and
a couple steps ahead. And like with the pro-protest movement, it doesn't make sense to like stop the flow of what you're benefiting off of, and people think that they can make the call when they're in like that original position of equality, like where they believe that everyone in the room has a vested interest for like promoting project or promoting things that are going to benefit people in the future, but it's all based on self-interest.
Oh yeah,
Every
definitely.
single decision that you make.
Oh, definitely.
And so
Because
there's no, yeah. And then so like even with the whole like all the manosphere content and stuff, it's like if you think that you're gonna help, you're gonna like change society. So you can't change society. It doesn't matter how you want to explain it. It's like you can't fight against certain
oh
things
no,
because that's just how they are.
Lion of MGTOW said,
Mhm.
there's a thing called and that was in signed in the law in like 1983 called something immunity. I forget what he said, but it basically absolves any any government official from legal recourse for the most
Diplomatic
part.
immunity.
Yeah,
Diplomatic immunity.
no, it's another name. I forgot the name of it, but like it literally absolves people from. It was signed in like 1983. It was like a law that was signed in a law that was basically signed into place where like they have immunity to do shit basically. They have the immunity to do shit while they're in capacity. This is why a lot of the cops get away with shooting people and not get in trouble for the shit for the most part because that goes into that law for the most part. So it doesn't matter what you do, don't matter how hard you protest. And the sad part about that, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, that's what it's called, qualified immunity. Thank you,
Bogan v.
Americus.
Scott Harris, 1990. Oh no. That's
Qualified
fucking right.
immunity is what it's called.
Yeah, qualified immunity. Yep.
Yeah, it gives anybody
Absolute
that's
and
acting in
qualified.
it gives anybody immunity who's acting in their position of their position of like power or position basically to do any damn thing they want. It's kind of like how all the governors could basically make rules on like extending the whole entire lockdown, even though Trump says we're going to roll it back. That's typically they got the carte blanche to basically do what the fuck they want, and you can be arrested for the shit like you can in California. I mean Chicago, basically, which is sad. And this is also why Black Lives don't matter because at the end of the day, a good example of that is in Michigan, not Michigan, damn, Minnesota. The riots basically took place and people were protesting for the most part. In that protest, only 10% of the
Yeah.
population of the protests were black people.
Mhm.
10% of those people were actually participating in the rioting with the white people. Now there was more people doing the rioting and looting than there were black people. However, you didn't get to see the white people doing the rioting and the looting. You only seen the 10% of the 10% of the population of the 10% of the 10% of the black people who were actually protesting, looting, and rioting. So basically, that whole entire thing, despite the fact that there was a bunch of other white people running around doing the same shit, if not worse shit, they only turned the camera to the black people.
Right. Black faces matter, not black lives.
Yeah, black faces matter when it comes to news stories. That's the only time blacks matter when it comes to a news story. It's like
Yeah.
black person gets killed. Now we actually got to make them look bad and say this is why they probably got killed. Pan to like two people looting the whole entire fucking place. Meanwhile, there's like 15, 20, 100 other white people looting the same damn place, but we just see the two black men looting up the place basically. This is why they deserve to actually die. That's typically how that works. It's literally you literally sensationalize a story of a black man being killed by the police. Then you wait for a protest to break out, and when white people start rioting, then a small section of what black people will start rioting, and you don't show the white people rioting, you show the black people rioting and looting, and you basically go from there, and you basically make it so it justifies the fact that this is the reason why the cop put his knee in the neck of that man for the most part. It's just facts. Because you could justify it by saying, see, this is how black people act. Meanwhile, over here, you got Steve from accounting, Bill from security, and like all these other motherfuckers, Luann from clerical, and you got Josie from finance, all looting the shit and stealing the shit, but you're focused on like Rakeem and Rakeem and Tyrone over here looting the shit. Meanwhile, you got like all these other motherfuckers
Radio
over here looting shit,
Raheem.
huh? Yeah,
Radio
like you get.
Raheem and me, Mookie.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's like you don't even got Pookie and Ray Ray in that one. You just got Tyrone and fucking Rakeem over here looting shit because their white compatriots are doing it. And they thought it was a great idea to tag along with these white people to go loot some shit, and now they're on the news now for looting shit. But the sad part about that, the only person that
qualified, yeah, just
and the sad part
qualified immunity thing in the reverse. If white people, like if black people see white people committing crimes, that's basically qualified immunity. Like, okay, like
Yeah.
white people are committing crimes, so I should be able to commit crimes too.
And the sad part about that, during the whole entire looting and rioting, one person got shot. It was a white guy.
Yeah. Oh, really? What was he?
Yeah,
what?
the one person that got shot. The one person that got shot for looting and rioting was a white guy, but they didn't say who. They didn't really say very much about him or, shit like that. Basically, but all the rest of the people are basically running around looting and rioting, and they're alive. Because I guess they kind of figure if they shoot a black person during the rioting, that'll probably make them even look worse. So we might as well just take out the white guy.
Maybe was it government police, because they couldn't. If it wasn't, they can't actually like shoot. They can actually like kill people if they're not contracted to.
I don't know who killed him, but they found him dead. They found that guy dead.
Just like,
not too far from where the fire was started. The police station fire was started. They found him dead, literally trying to loot some shit. And the sad part about that is they ain't put his face on the news. They ain't talk about him. They barely said his name. I think they only said his name in one spot.
One press release.
Yeah, one press release. They said his name, but they ain't released no pictures of the man. But when I found that thing, I looked him up. It was a white guy basically that got shot in Minnesota for looting and rioting, basically. And it was kind of crazy to me how that actually worked and panned out for the most part. And it was like, dude, you did all this to basically make black people look. You did all this to sensationalize a black person having a knee in his neck and being strangled to death, all to turn towards two black people looting and rioting, despite the fact that there's about a good 50 people looting and rioting. You find the only two black people in the crowd to turn the camera on. And then on top of that, one white guy shows up dead for looting and rioting, but you don't want to put him on the news, though. What?
Or just barely, like just slip in. There was a white guy. Oh my God, he got shot. But look at all these black people. Wow, oh my God, it's a pandemonium.
Yeah, it's pandemonium. Two black people. It's a pandemonium. Oh my God, these black people are ridiculous. No,
it still has black people, but like not a lot of foreigners. So it's like the perfect staging ground, the testing ground for like the whole like, oh, let's see if black people can riot. Like, what are you telling me if there were riots on the coast that there would be much more crazy shit happening and it'd be like a lot harder to contain? If that kind of stuff happened now, oh my gosh, there'd be like the riots would be so much more intense if it was on the coast.
Oh, definitely, most definitely. And the sad part about that is like
people aren't really social distancing out here. But then, like, if you were to go in Midwest, I'm pretty sure it's different.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
And the sad part about that is like a lot of people. Oh, good night, Double A. And the sad part about it is a lot of people just like do stupid shit on a regular basis, and it's like crazy. And it's kind of like what I was saying about the whole entire Ferguson thing, where like the people of Ferguson were literally saying after like somebody literally looted and rioted the stores in their neighborhood. And quite frankly, a lot of the stores were actually ran down and like closed down any damn way. But like people looted and rioted the thing, and they blamed the people of Ferguson when in fact it was a bunch of people that the Democrats bust in to come help them do some Black Lives Matter shit. And they're the ones that actually looted and rioted their neighborhood. And the people of Ferguson said it wasn't us. It was some people from the outside that looted our shit and destroyed our shit. But they painted it in a way to make it look like it was the people of Ferguson who did it to themselves. Because something I've noticed about black people is black people will go along with damn near anything. Black people will pretty much go along and be passive to any damn thing up until you actually fuck with them personally or fuck with their family. And it is what it is. Like black people aren't really known, and especially in history, for being like as violent as they are up until like recent years when like indoctrination and shit like that made them that
And
way
they're
for the most
raised
part.
by single mothers.
And the sad part about that,
Yeah.
black people were all, even during slavery, black people weren't really known to be violent. If a violent revolt broke out, it was like shocking. It was like basically like in the 80s when like if somebody pulled out a knife in a fist fight, that was like whoa, that was like mind blowing for the most part. So for a revolt to actually happen with black people, it was like very rare, and a lot of people don't really realize that shit. But the sad part about that is black people are the most passive group of people in the whole entire Western world. Black people are the most passive group of people in the whole entire Western world. It's just facts. Because at the end of the day, it don't matter what you do to a black person. They may protest, they may not protest. Hell, half the time, black people don't even go out for protesting. You can pretty much do any damn thing to. You can pretty much do anything that's. You can pretty much wreck a black person's car. Well, not a car. You might not want to touch the car because that might end up in a fist fight. But like, you can pretty much do anything. For the most part, you can fire them. You can do. And the sad part about that is like, if you fire a black person, he's less likely to go back and shoot up the place than a white person. If you fired a white person,
Right.
and the sad part about that, but we don't talk about that shit.
Home. Yeah.
Like,
just go home.
There's not too many black people. There's not too many black people that you fire that would go back and turn around and shoot up the place and take everybody out. But the sad part about that, there are a lot of white people. I remember the one time we fired this one dude at the hospital I worked at, and we were on lockdown because apparently they were scared that he was going to come back and shoot up the place.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel because, like, in certain times, it's like they got to catch a certain amount on film, and if they don't, then they'll let this white guy go for committing. But then, like, if you're gonna deprive a white person of a white man of their livelihood, and then just let them out into the free world, it's like you're basically asking for something bad to happen.
True story. And in fact, you are literally asking for shit to happen to you. You're going to do that to a white guy. You're literally asking for shit to happen because one of two things is going to happen if it's
no more watch salesmen anymore, Chad. Just go home, Chad. And you got like tons of money saved up, and like you probably have got like an arsenal, but you just can't work here anymore.
Yeah, no. And the sad part about that is like
transferable skills. It's like, oh shit.
And the sad part about that is what I notice about white men. One of two things happen: either coming back with a gun and threatening the place, or they're going to commit suicide.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the two ends of the spectrum. Very, like, I'll say about like 2-3% of them would basically be like, well, I guess I got to find a new job. Whereas the rest of them, they'll be in like depression and they'll be contemplating suicide. And their other half will be basically like, I'm shooting up the place. That's literally what it is. And I've noticed that shit because like I've been there when like we fire people or let people go and they threaten they threaten to shoot up the place and they threaten to beat somebody up and shit like that. Now we on lockdown and we got to be scared for our lives. Meanwhile, I ain't scared. I'm like walking through the place like, did you hear Tico? They're talking. This guy, they just fired a guy and he's talking about shooting the place and beating everybody up. I don't give a fuck about that little lame.
I don't care.
I'll whoop his ass without a gun. And that's simply how I feel about that shit. And because I've never been scared. Like, well, you can't walk out that door. He might be out that door. So you got to walk out the designated exits. Fuck that guy and fuck you. And I'll literally walk out to my car, literally, because that's literally how I feel. And the sad part about that, it just don't be middle class white people that be doing this. There is doctors who are literally threatening to shoot up the place. Think about that. People who make six figures are threatening to shoot up the place.
Mm-hmm.
So like this is some real shit though. Like so, and the thing that I always found funny about that is like we don't really talk about that type of shit. We sweep that shit under the rug up until it actually becomes a big story. Where a guy shoots up a LA Fitness or a guy shoots up a hospital or a guy like does some crazy shit, then we want to talk about it.
Like knee strangle somebody in the middle of the street.
Oh yeah, like we want to make it a big thing now, and it's like before that we could have prevented the shit from happening, but nobody wanted to prevent it. They basically just wanted it to spiral out of control so they can make a sensational story out of it, and I think that's what a lot of the times police officers and the news outlets pretty much do. They hear about something, they wait for it to spiral out of control, and they make it a big sensational story. Hell, for all we know, that one cop could have been like a problem cop, but we let it spiral out of control till this point when he put his knee in that guy's neck for this to happen. Basically, now we got him dead, and we got a bunch of rioting, and we got the whole entire half the town being burned down
The
to the
media
ground.
only does their job after the disaster
Oh,
happens. They don't
Same for
follow
the
a
cops.
story
Shit,
and,
the same for the
actually
cops too.
hold it
They do their job after the
they're
shit
not-
happens.
Yeah, and they're not really in power of what they do because they're going through the motions, and they got all this crazy like stuff to deal with. So it's just like they're
Right,
normalized
Americus.
every day.
Literally, everybody stood by and watched. Because the sad part
Well,
about that, when somebody's getting their ass
so-
whooped, when somebody's getting their ass whooped in this day and age, nobody helps, but they'll pull out their phone and record the shit. Everybody literally stands by and watches the shit unfold, basically, and nobody stops it from happening, or nobody prevents it from happening. And it is what it is. That's typically the society we live in. We
It's
want to
like
see what happens
hyper-normalized.
next.
Yeah, it's like everyone's turned into a spectator, but like the thing is like spectators can still create art, and that's like part of why, like, I think what inspired like protest movements in the past, because they were actually trying to present something and like have it come to fruition and stuff. But people who protest now, they just want to cause dysfunction
Mm-hmm.
because they're all dysfunctional individuals.
Oh, definitely. Because at the end of the day, like, what people don't realize is, like, there's no point in protesting if you're black. There's no point. You might as well just let it go and just go back to your normal lives and let the white people do it for the most
Move
part. Because
on.
at the end of the day, shit ain't going to change. It'll never change, and there's no point even changing. The only way it'll change is unless you get like the Jewish and Chinese people and start hitting people in the wallet.
And
That's the only way that shit will change. Start hitting people in the wallet. Basically, start hitting people in the wallet. If something happened to you, take them to court and sue them financially. Don't even take them to criminal court. Take them to civil court. Take them to court basically and sue them for money. Basically, don't even get to put no criminal charges against them. Just basically tell them wrongful death suit basically, and get some money out of the shit. And the sad part about that is the sad part about that, I was talking to somebody, in all technicality, if you want to get technical, if you don't have the money to do it, you can actually get a bunch of people together and file a class action lawsuit in your locale to basically sue a bunch of cops or sue like various police departments in your state or your locale.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's some people that's been wronged by the police that you can get a lawyer and get everybody together to sue the local police. Basically, it's just facts.
I'm sure there's.
That's the only way. That's the only way shit will change, because that's the only way they'll take anybody seriously when they start losing money or when they got to go to court and lose some serious grip.
Right. And I mean, yeah, I mean the whole Midwest is just a crazy. I think I mentioned it before, the story about with like women that would travel there from the West Coast and get an easy divorce because they would just check a bag into a hotel room for a few months. And this was an actual rule in the Dakota Territory, like a law that you could basically get a divorce just just after establishing a residency by like buying a hotel room. And it's like that's some age-old hypergamy right there, by the way.
Yeah, definitely.
And like American hypergamy, not just the European hypergamy, which is like it's a different beast. Like if you think about it, like European men are just not as much on the whole simp train thing as
well, the European hypergamy.
American.
European hypergamy is basically women flying all the way to Jamaica or the islands or a certain country or in Africa to basically get some dick. Basically, they do it all the damn time. They literally fly to Jamaica, Trinidad, any of those places, Dominican Republic, and Africa, and sometimes they fly to Morocco to get dick.
South Africa,
South, North, Central. They fly all over Africa to basically get dick. Basically, they don't fly there. They fly to the Caribbean to get dick. Basically, it is what it is. And that's basically hypergamy in a nutshell. Because if in Europe, a lot of women actually fly to all these places so they can actually literally get dick. And the sad part about it, especially if they go with their girlfriends, they're flying there for dick. Come on now, they're not flying there to really go see no fucking lions. They're flying there to go get some lion dick. Let's keep it 100. This is facts, but it's just shit like that people always sweep under the rug. And
I agree, like with America's, because it's like not necessarily the cops that you care one way or another about, but it's like the what you would be defending against goes right over the cops' like jurisdiction in terms of like what
And
what they're
the sad
what they're
part
going
about
for.
that is like I don't hate cops nor am I mad at cops.
Yeah, me neither.
Well, I don't hate cops. I should say. The thing is, I don't trust cops. I don't trust them in the least bit. I remember I made a video basically saying if I was being chased by like some wild animal basically, and three cars pulled up, a cop car, a car with white women in it, and a car with the KKK members full and donning full garb, I'm more likely to jump in a KKK member's car for safety.
Right. Hmm.
Because I know at the end of the day, there's a high chance I might be killed by the police officers, and there's an even higher chance I might be killed by the police officers because he might get scared that I might open the door and he might shoot me. And I don't feel like being accused of rape by a white woman and a bunch of white women are having her call the cops on me for threatening her basically. So yeah, I'm going to go with the KKK member because I have a better chance of actually talking them out of killing me than I do the cops and white women for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the like just like the whole qualified immunity or absolute immunity thing, it makes sense. Like, and this is kind of a strange thought, but like if you were to be incarcerated in like a government run prison, like they could kill you if you tried to escape,
Yeah, they could.
or they could like
Yeah, this is why they're most of the prisons are privatized now.
hmm right.
And the sad part about that,
They don't want anybody
they pay more money for prisoners to go to a privatized prison than they do if it was state owned prison.
Hmm.
Even the state owned prisons are privatized.
Hmm.
Like you
Yeah, no,
literally
because I realized after all this corona stuff that like the states have like no mercy at all. They have no mercy.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the sad part about that is that, and you can tell the difference between a state-owned prison and a privatized prison because if you have a release date and you go to court and you get released, a state prison they would have to let you out. A privatized prison they could lose your paperwork. You can stay in there for 8 to 6 years. You can stay in there from the time you were released till 8 years later, basically, because they haven't found your paperwork or they haven't gotten to your paperwork, basically. Because there's actually like 10 people right now sitting in privatized prison who were supposed to be released like years ago that are still sitting in there because they haven't gotten to their paperwork.
Hmm.
Like, let that sink in.
Like, yeah.
You were released. You're supposed to be a free man, and the privatized prison still got your ass in prison.
Yeah. Or like the death row inmates. It's like, wait, the death, like they're not supposed to kill them, but then some of the people who are supposed to be executed. So it's like the logistical thing of moving them around is like
Mhm.
it costs us so much money.
Oh, and the sad part about that, to house an inmate completely, like with all the benefits and perks of being an inmate, is going to sets the U.S. back anywhere between like 70 to 130,000 a year for one person. That includes health benefits, health care. That includes electricity, cable, the whole 9 yards, food and all that other shit. Like it sets you back literally that much. Clothing, laundry, whatever the hell you want to call it, air conditioning, whatever. And the sad part about that, in prison in the United States, half these motherfuckers is living better than people on the outside, basically, for the most part. Because there's a lot of niggas living in California right now that could barely afford to have a PlayStation or Xbox, that could barely afford to have air conditioning, barely afford to have their lights on, barely afford their rent. But these motherfuckers is living 3 hots in a cot. There's motherfuckers in California that's not even eating right now. Think about that.
Right.
And the sad part, and that's sad. Like you got to live like that. And the sad part about that is there's a lot more people in California who literally work themselves to death just so they can afford their apartments that they're living, while prisoners basically work part of the time, get some outside time. And the sad part about that is half these people only see outside when they leave work and go home and come back to work, go to sleep, go back out, basically. That's the only time they see outside, basically. Whereas these motherfuckers get some outside time, they get some workout time, and these motherfuckers can't even do that shit because they can barely afford the apartment they live in, let alone go to an actual gym.
Oh yeah,
that's how sad that is.
which creates all the mental illness and the lack of social interaction. And you think about it, it's spurred on too by like hypergamy, which is like if you are in a mask, you immediately are able to cover like half of your face, and therefore like you can almost like think of yourself as you pretty much disassociate from your your real face.
Hmm.
And it like makes it easier. And like I see the dating game is still alive and strong even with like the lockdown happening. Like it's crazy.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Crazy.
shit. There's
And like girls
dating
are
still
so
going on.
thirsty. The thirst will never end. Like
Well,
the
you
thirst will
see
never.
you
And
seen
they're
all
still
my
using.
Facebook,
What?
Facebook posts that I've been posting on YouTube lately,
Oh yeah,
where women saying
exactly.
half the shit that they're doing and doing half the shit that they're doing.
These are
My
desperate
favorite was
times.
the
You
one
know that.
woman
These
that
are
I posted
desperate
about the
times.
yeah, my favorite was the one woman that I posted because she couldn't find toilet paper. She said, and I quote, "Sometimes it's nice to have a man." And a guy asked why, so you can go out and find us some toilet paper. Seriously, you want a
What?
man so he can help you find toilet paper because you can't find it yourself.
What?
Yeah, that's literally what
It's
she said in her
Ohio.
post.
It's like you
Yeah,
don't even
like
know
she
Ohio
says,
sounds shit.
yeah, like she literally said that shit
God damn it.
because she needed toilet paper because she couldn't find toilet paper. She said sometimes it's great. Every now and again, I think to myself, it's great to have a man because basically she wanted a man to go shopping during these trying times, basically because she didn't feel like standing in line looking at store after store for toilet paper, basically. So she basically wanted a man so he can do all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like think about that shit.
And on that, yeah, think about that shit, you motherfuckers. I think that would be. I kind of want to call this because I want to get some sleep, and I think that we've had some since we came right around back to desperation. I think that would be a good way to lead off. So I appreciate this live stream you give me, Tico.
Yeah,
Appreciate having you as a co-host. And you
definitely. It's
guys have
always a pleasure having you as a co-host.
yeah, this is awesome. This is so cool. We can go on forever and ever. But
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure we're that the people listening also have some stuff to do as well. So you guys take care. Shout out America Stiville. Shout out Psyche Soap. Shout out Double I. And you guys have a good night. And Mr. Forma, you guys have a good night.
Definitely.
I'm about
Y'all
to
have a
go
good.
enjoy my 3 hots in the car on the plantation with my toilet paper, my fancy living because I live in a prison. I live in the prison system.
All right, you guys. It was a pleasure, definitely hanging out with you guys and serving you guys, and I'm gonna go off and get some sleep, and y'all have a great night. And oh, Jam came back. Y'all have a great night, and y'all stay MGTOW, Red Pill, SYSBM, it
Peace.
more wherever the heck you are, stay that way, and improve
Avoid those
yourself,
thirsty
and always
hoes.
work on yourself, and always do your best to pretty much improve yourself for the most part, and do better by yourself, and spoil yourself, and take care of yourself. Just take care of yourself, period. And you
Get
had
some
anything
beauty
else to say,
sleep.
Yan, before you got kicked out?
No, I was just saying, yeah, avoid those desperate hoes and get your beauty sleep. God knows you're gonna need it.
For
Desperate
real, you're gonna
times
need
call
that
for
beauty
desperate
sleep. You're gonna
measures.
need that beauty sleep with all these desperate hoes hitting up on you, trying to push up
Yeah.
on you and shit like that. Hell,
Mm-hmm.
I had one try to push up on me at Giant Eagles today.
Fuck, dude. Yeah. I was like going through the drive-through of Taco Bell. The girl like reached out the window and like just, like grabbed my arm as I was putting the money in the tin. Like she stroked it extra. She caressed it extra softly and all shit. I was like, damn.
Yeah,
Girls
like
out
she pushed
here.
up on me. She pushed up on me in the spinach aisle and shit like that. I'm sitting there looking for spinach and shit because it's barely there. And like this heifer pushed up on me with her tits on my shoulder and shit like that.
Man,
Like the fuck? Like social
that is
distancing much?
terrible.
Like social distancing much? Like damn. Like, but yeah, it's just shit like that that
Yeah.
just blows my mind.
Yeah,
Like,
man, like they're so like I got like mollywopped like punched in my face like I was like trying to like wrestle this sponge away from this girl. She actually like her hand like flew out and like hit me. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, dude, the desperate. It's like they are so desperate. They're like getting out all their anger and frustration on you. while trying to like flirt with you at the same time. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My-
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's really crazy, guys. Just be careful and like try to dodge if if you see some angry person coming at you, try to just like see it and then like do like a quick dodge.
And
It always
like
pays
I
to
think
be
America
very
said it.
highly
Was
defensive.
Americus or somebody else? Technology is your friend.
Yes, technology is your friend. Please.
No, it's Pence. Technology is your friend.
Yeah,
Use it
develop a
anytime, anywhere
relationship.
that you are, basically to save your
Yeah.
life, because your technology can save you from any craziness that somebody will levy
Anything,
against
maybe,
you
bro.
for the most part.
Yeah.
So yeah, if
Turn
you
that
have a phone,
camera on
start
and
recording
film
and keep it
something.
close to your chest,
Yeah. Exactly. Keep it close. Keep it close.
because shit's
guys. All
about
right,
to get real in this country. Shit's about to get really real in this country.
Yeah, start filming everything. Film your whole life. If you can. If you have the data, if you have the storage and the data, just put everything on camera.
Yeah, for real. You would literally
All
have to
right.
like film every 6 hours or you have to film every 6. You would like literally be filming for like 4 to 6 hours basically every
Yeah.
so often,
Like a
basically, to
check-in.
put just to make sure you're still good.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? That'd be
Like
ridiculous.
they tried to say I was over here on this side of town. No, I got video proof. I was on this toilet. I was
Mess around and
I
turn
was
into
in
a
my
Twitch
house.
stop. Be like on stream, like filming yourself sleeping and shit like that. That way they can't blame you for no shit.
They'll still, even if they were on camera doing something, they will still have their subscriptions and all their sponsors. Like if they were on camera killing somebody, the guys would be like, "Oh, she was just joking."
Yeah, that was a joke. She was just playing
That was
like
a
that one
joke.
chick. It was only a joke. Can't you take a joke?
It was a meme. All right, I'm gonna get some sleep so I'm not accidentally like beheaded with a girl wielding a machete tomorrow.
Oh, definitely.
I'm crazy ass hell. All right, you
All
have a
right.
good night, man.
You
You have a
too.
good night.
Y'all have a good night. Be blessed. Bye, niggas. Bye.
Bye. Later.